so the front door is going to be painted. Oy. Try cleaning it, but
so we're going to be painting this here piece of wood that the dogs chewed apart that got fixed with some wood filler. So we're going to be painting this black, and since we've got the black paint out, we might as well do this, which is already destroyed as well from none other than the dogs. So we're going to paint this, and we're going to paint this door, also ruined by the previous owner's dogs.
Oh, yeah. Oh boy, why does Zena? Oh, I guess they must have stayed in the garage when they're probably out.
And the front door.
Alright.
Which is black also. So that's what we're going to be doing. Keep a nice wet rag on hand.
Everything's taped off.
So you're just going to want to tape it off basically from whatever color that you're not painting. You're going to want to cover so that you don't get paint on it. So for instance, we're using black today. So this whole door is, you know, black. So there isn't really much tape here besides this this basically scuff guard down here. I forget what it's called.
Okay.
Then you're going to want to tape. This is white here on this trim, so you're going to want to take this trim off. Do a better job than I did.
How much did this take? Maybe like a full roll, or?
No, it's only like maybe a quarter of a whole roll.
Okay. How much does a roll cost?
A roll is like it's actually pretty expensive. It was like $8.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, you want to kind of get this as close as possible and kind of fold this over a little bit. I mean, the reason I didn't fold it over initially is because this stuff actually tends to. This isn't really a great product because it tends to actually pull the paint off. If you sit here and jam the tape on, then when you go to take it off, chances are you're going to rip paint off of this side, which is definitely not what you want to do. So I kind of have it on here loosely.
Is there a better product?
If you're really good at it, you can just do it by hand with a brush, with an angled brush, and you don't even need tape. But you know, it's not what we're trying to accomplish here today, I guess. So pretty much you're just going to want to, if it starts coming off, just sort of push it down a little bit, let it get somewhat of a grip on it so that it's not falling all over the place. Hopefully it won't rip your paint off and you won't have to do it again.
Okay.
So then I'm going to take this stuff down and then open the door and just paint it and probably do 2 coats. I'll probably do this bigger stuff with, this is a wood finish, this is a wood door, it's a completely smooth surface. So you're going to want to get a smooth surface roller. This is a 1/4 inch nap, which means that the threading is not as long. So it won't, if it has a larger nap, like a 1/2 inch nap, then the threading will be significantly longer and it can get into more grooves and things like that. So if you had like you were painting like drywall, or like let's say if you were painting like stucco, you would use like a 1/2 inch nap or ceiling to really get into the various different crevices to get the paint on.
How on earth do you know all this?
You just read it up online, or you ask, you know, one of your friends who's a carpenter or painter to explain it to you.
Got it.
And that helps.
What else did you?
So then, yeah, I'll do this. I'll do these big sections with a roller, and then I'll do these pieces in here with a brush. This is just basically a throwaway brush. I don't want to use one of my nice ones because it's cold and I don't want to get my hands. I don't want to have to rinse it out for like a half hour. So.
But when you say rinse it out, what's the proper thing you have to do with the paint? How you rinse it in like a bucket or something? How does that work?
No, well, this is just this is an interior-exterior paint. It's probably not the best kind of paint for this because it's latex paint, which means that you can get it off with water.
Oh.
Which means it's probably not the best thing for out here, but most of the stuff we're doing is interior. So typically you'd want to use an oil-based paint for this, which doesn't come off with water, which means you're going to have to use mineral spirits to get it off. So it's a totally different process. If you're using an oil-based paint, like, it's really important that you don't get the paint anywhere but where it's supposed to be going because it's not going to come off.
But as far as like environmentally, like disposing of it, how does that work?
This definitely is way more environmentally friendly, being a latex paint, because it just comes off with water.
Oh, okay.
You just take this to wherever your local dump is, or somebody who you know, is certified or knows how to get rid of this type of paint in a safe way.
So that's like your leftover, or like how do you wash the paint off? Like can't go down the sink, right? Because it's septic.
No, definitely not. You just how do you wash the paint off the brush?
Yeah.
You can just take it to you can just do it over a bucket and rinse it out over a bucket if you want, and then you can just kind of put it in a container and take it to someplace to get rid of it. Or you have to look into it. I think it's you just have to look into it to see what you know, whether or not you can rinse the paint off onto the ground. I mean, probably not, so you have to check that out. But if you're gonna rinse the brush out, it probably takes about a good half hour to rinse the brush out.
Okay.
So
you can't soak it?
Not really.
Okay.
It just takes forever to get it out. And unless you're like a painter, a professional painter, maybe has a tool to get the paint out, it makes more sense. I'm just like, you know, painting this thing to make it look better than it looks right now. So I'm just gonna throw the brush out.
Okay, so what about like the little scratches in the door?
If
like,
you have big scratches, if you have big scratches in the door,
right
you need
here?
to use. If you have big scratches in the door, you need to use putty. You have to put putty on there and then sand it down to smooth it out. I'm not going to do that with any of these scratches. These scratches aren't big enough to really notice.
Okay.
I can't even feel it with my hand. Once the paint goes over it, you won't see it.
Okay. Sounds good.
But you know, that's pretty much it in you know, in a nutshell. And then you just let this dry for a significant period of time with this tape on here. You know, as long as you can really let it. Maybe
like 24 hours.
Least, I mean, 24 hours is great. 12 hours is probably fine because it's going to look like it's dry, but in these corners, it's going to pool in these corners, and when you go to pull it off, when it looks like it's dry, it's not going to be dry, and it's going to rip off.
Okay. And then what about a second coat? Do you have to do a second coat?
Yeah. You don't have to wait 24 hours. You know, you can do the second coat with this stuff in a half hour.
Okay.
But taking the tape off, you're definitely going to wait a long period of time before you take the tape off.
Okay. Oh, I'm excited. You're a professional.
Here we go.
It up with a flathead screwdriver, right?
Yeah. I need to go put some gloves on.
Okay.
These are definitely a highly needed product right now in the world of COVID. These are a luxury. These are latex gloves. Can't get these anywhere. So you just put these on so you don't want to get paint all over your hands and then have to scrub it off. This is, you know, it's a latex-based paint, so it's not really. There isn't really a huge health concern if you get it on your hands. I just really wouldn't want to, just because what's the point, you know? Plus, you're gonna have to scrub it off anyway. So, better safe than sorry, and just put some gloves on.
All right, so you open it with the flathead screwdriver.
There it is, the black magic.
Oh boy, this could get messy.
Yeah, you should probably put something down. Drop cloth, something of that nature. I'm not really planning on having this stuff flying all over the place, so.
I don't think anyone ever plans to make a mess.
Yeah, you should probably put something down. I have a cloth. I'll probably go get it and put it down.
Okay. All right, so let's see how that goes on. All right. Shove it on there.
Oh, it's thick. Wow, it's good and thick.
Oh, don't you need one of those mixing things, a ruler or whatever?
Yeah, it's already shaken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is that, like a chamois?
It's just a rag.
Okay.
Definitely gonna need to go get a cloth for this.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it. Then you stick it on the roller and start rolling.
Okay. Yeah, door being open.
You're gonna have to leave it open once you put a couple coats on it, because if you close the door when it's wet, then it's gonna get all over this in here, and it's gonna get all over. Probably gonna get all this.
Okay.
So what you're gonna want to do is, you know, you let it dry for a couple hours, and then touch it to your finger. You know, make sure it's dry, or you know, whatever the drying time is on the type of paint that you're using, and then close it and see what happens. You know, for, you know, maybe leave it closed for 10 minutes or so, and open it back up, see if it's okay, and then that's how you're gonna have to handle it.
Okay. And then it's not gonna drip in the house?
You can definitely put a cloth down in there. That's where
Okay.
this one's gonna wind up going.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do these little cracks and crevices first, because that way I can, when I use the roller later, I can roll out whatever smooths over.
Okay.
And you want to wipe this down first. Believe it or not, this actually was wiped down.
And then it will dry darker?
It's supposed to dry really dark, so let's hope, because it doesn't really look that dark going on. It's supposed to be, that's the lid there.
I think they usually...
That's the lid there. Look at the lid. That's the color.
Yeah, I think they usually dry darker, if I remember correctly. Right? Well, here's hoping.
And if you're doing this kind of, if you're, kind of careful about what you're doing with your brush and what you're doing with your roller, and you don't put a ton of paint on the brush and a ton of paint on the roller, and it's not going to fling all over the place, and you don't have to worry as much about it going everywhere. I mean, the point you're going to get paint all over the place when you start putting a ton of paint on your brush and you start brushing like a madman. Then it's going to fly all over the place, and that's how you get paint in spots that you don't want to, like that. Just kicked the drop right there.
Where?
It went somewhere over here, but
Okay.
I'm just getting all the spots that I'm not going to be able to get with the roller. This thing is not even, these grooves aren't grip enough to even, they're not big enough to grab this roller.
Uh-oh.
So it's not really rolling over, it's fine. It's just that you're gonna have to get this paint off before you're gonna have to roll this a lot once it's on the door
Okay.
to be able to smooth this out, because it's obviously not smooth at all.
Uh-oh.
And this roller is definitely too big, so
Oh, no.
you probably want, I actually have a different one, I might get that, but that's probably about the size roller that you want. Probably like a 6-inch roller. This is like this is probably an 8.
Okay.
But,
I mean, it looks like it's going along in the
it's
meantime.
not the end of the world.
What about, like, this part of the door? Like, how does that get painted? From, like, the brush?
You have to get the door wide open, and you'd have to paint it with a brush.
Okay. Uh-oh. What about the handles? I have to get taped?
You can definitely tape it. I'm gonna do it by hand.
Okay.
So I'll probably put the first coat on with this bigger one. This one is too big. And then I'll go back and get the smaller one.
Did you choose to do this today because it's a nice day?
No, just because I want to get it done.
Okay. Because, I mean, it is fortunate that the weather's so nice today. Makes it a lot easier.
So clearly, this is a good indication. There's obviously way too much paint on this roller right now in this area, so I'm gonna need to roll this on some other areas to get the paint off the roller, and then go back to that area, roll it again to get the paint onto the brush,
Okay.
onto the roller, and then spread it around basically.
Okay.
So that's what a lot of it on there.
Okay, that looks better. Alright, so if you can see the original black here, and then the dry black there, not quite dry, but it's getting to dry. It is drying darker than the fresher. And it just came right off. Perfect.
So this part you're obviously going to do, if you're going to do it by hand like this, then first of all, for this area, you probably want a smaller brush. This is a 3-inch brush. You probably could use a, you know, maybe a 2-inch brush, and then you're going to need to really be careful right in here. Slowly just kind of touch it right up against the surface. I kind of already got some paint on there, so probably just want to tape it off. But you know, also another thing is this door is already black, so it's not like I had to get all the way in there on everything and really get it as close as possible.
If you really wanted to go crazy with it, it's possible to remove the handle and lock, right?
Yeah, you can just do that. That's probably what most people would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus, you know, also when if you just remove the handle and the lock, then you're gonna have a smooth.
You could just brush it. That would be nice.
Maybe I'll just take this off. So we're calling a little bit of the audible here. We decided that this definitely needs coming off because it's just the texture around the door is not going to be right if you do it with if you're doing the whole thing with a roller, and you're kind of getting in with 1 or 2 spaces around the knob. It's just the texturing's not going to look right. So we're going to take this
So those have been taken off. Should I hold the other side? Got it. There's something else in there.
Whole thing slides out just like that.
Perfect. Have you done this before?
Yeah, I put these in.
Oh.
I put these in because when we bought the house.
Yeah. Change the lock.
Because you never know who's got an extra key to your house unless you change the locks.
That's true.
You don't want to show up one day, you know, find some college kid in your basement because he thinks his buddy's parents still own the house.
That's true.
Or maybe you do.
Uh-oh. Here's one. Some people take the whole door off the hinge, so that's an option. If you want to paint that way. No.
And so then this is literally just held on with. Did you find another one? Did you grab another one of these?
Yeah.
This is just held on by one screw down here.
I never even noticed that.
Which was painted on, of course.
That's good. Oof. Ew. What the heck is that? So now we got the door handle off. Clean that little spot up.
Everything's off. We cleaned up the spot. So then we're just going to run this over here. Try to see the best way to do this because this hasn't too much paint on it.
Yeah, that's a lot of paint. I'll probably get. Oh, I guess there already is some paint in the hole anyway.
Really cool on something else probably. So.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's a lot more even.
You could also just paint this whole thing with a brush if you wanted to.
Yeah, but that's a lot of work.
It's probably a little, when it comes down to it, probably a little bit more work.
I like to use a roller. I think the roller's a lot more even too with the.
Just evening out this paint. We don't want this stuff pooling anywhere. Get a nice even coat. All right, now that's gonna look better from
Yeah.
the texturing. Now up in here we had. Just gonna get some of this, move some of this paint down because we had some pooling,
Yeah.
some paint pooling up there. Try and get this door open wide enough so that I can roll it up.
Yeah. Just don't get the white.
Well, you know, it's fine because it's really, you can't see it, but this is inset back there, so it's kind of,
Oh, perfect.
you have to really miss it to hit the white.
Yeah, okay.
That's one of the benefits of using this.
Perfect. Good job.
We got one coat done. Looks pretty good. I mean,
Looks really good.
I think I probably would like it to be a little bit darker. Maybe should have went with I did semi-gloss, which is like a kind of a mid-grade gloss in terms of how shiny it is. So I probably should have went with a full gloss, which would have a lot of shine,
Okay.
but it's still shiny.
Yeah.
So it obviously needs a second coat in
Oh,
here.
it's
You
really
can tell.
good.
I actually probably need to sand this a little bit with
Alright, so too much
before I
paint
go over it.
There. Okay.
With the second coat. But I went and got the right size roller now, so this will be a lot easier to roll. But other than that, we're just going to slap another coat on it, and then it'll probably be done.
Okay, cool. And you did all this on the sides with the brush, right?
Yeah.
Looks good. Okay, with the new roller. Nice. Now we're doing up and down to make sure everything matches. Oh, this looks amazing. I can't believe it.
This particular brand of paint is drying super fast, so I mean, in a half hour, these coats have been going. These second and third coats have been going on in a half hour. I mean, in an hour, this is going to be totally completely dry.
Awesome.
So depending on the paint you get an oil-based paint, it's going to take longer.
All right, cool. All done. Beautiful. And here we go. If you need me to move the jackets, just let me know.
They're fine there, I think.
Okay. Oh, didn't even notice that you taped over there. Very nice. Good job.
It was basically done. Probably gonna do some touch-ups and some spots. I mean, I think it turned out all right. It could have been better. I mean, the paint could have had. In hindsight, I would have went with like a full gloss, and probably just a darker black. But this was literally the darkest black they had. So
It looks really good.
I still, whatever. I think it looks pretty good.
All done. Maybe, yeah, just a little touch-ups over here, and we're good. Yay. Any tips for anyone doing it themselves at home?
On the can, it says wait 2 to 4 hours to do a recoat. I mean, it's dry to touch in a half hour. You could probably get away doing a recoat in an hour.
How long did the whole thing take from start to finish?
It's probably about 5 hours, 6 hours.
Well, you did a great job.
Most of the time spent is spent taping. So, until next time.
Thanks.